Good morning. A U.S. India trade deal has been announced. A prominent news anchor's mother has possibly been abducted, and a jury has awarded $2 million to a detransitioner. Without further ado, here's what you need to know on this Tuesday, February 3rd. This is Starting Point, an Essential Network original podcast.
First up, President Donald Trump announced a bilateral trade deal with India following a phone call with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a statement on Truth Social on Monday afternoon. This agreement comes after months of escalating tensions, including the U.S. imposing high tariffs, up to 50% total, on Indian imports starting in 2025 as a result of India's continued purchases of Russian oil amid the Ukraine conflict. The deal aims to ease those pressures and strengthen economic ties between the two largest democracies. The United States will immediately lower its reciprocal tariff on Indian goods from 25% to 18%. This deal also removes an additional 25% punitive tariff tied to India's Russian oil imports, effectively cutting the overall rate from around 50% in some cases. India will halt purchases of Russian oil and shift to buying more oil from the U.S. and potentially Venezuela, reduce tariffs and non-tariff barriers on U.S. goods to 0% or near 0% in some areas, and significantly increase purchases of products made in the U.S. Modi responded positively on social media, expressing delight at the reduced 18% tariff on products made in India and thanking Trump on behalf of India's 1.4 billion people. He highlighted the deal's potential for mutual benefits, global peace, and deeper partnership, without explicitly confirming the Russian oil shift or exact purchase figures. India's Nifty 50 stock index surged around 5% on the news, opening higher on Tuesday, reflecting optimism about boosted exports and competitiveness. Next up, Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of NBC Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, was reported missing from her home in Catalina Foothills, Arizona, a suburb of the city of Tucson, on Sunday afternoon. She was last seen at her residence on the evening of January 31st, 2026, around 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. Mountain Time, after family members dropped her off. Investigators believe Guthrie was taken against her will. Her home was treated as an active crime scene with concerning and suspicious elements observed. In a statement, the anchor posted the following message to Instagram on Monday night. "Thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love and hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him." Anyone with tips is asked to call the Pima County, Arizona Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900.
Third, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell's annual Super Bowl week press conference took place on Monday afternoon in San Jose, California. Among the main takeaways from the press conference, Goodell said he thinks the NFL has done a good job of implementing changes and using technology to improve in-game officiating, and the league will continue to consider all options for making sure correct calls are made as often as possible. Goodell said the NFL intends to have 9 international games in 2026, an increase from 7 this past season. The 2026 season will feature 3 games in London, the first NFL games in Paris and Melbourne ever, alongside games in Mexico City, Madrid, Rio de Janeiro, and Munich. Goodell said there have been no formal discussions about the NFL expanding with an 18th regular season game, and whether that will be part of the next round of CBA negotiations with the NFL Players Association. Goodell believes Bill Belichick should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Goodell also defended Bad Bunny performing at Super Bowl 60, saying, quote, "Bad Bunny is, and I think that was demonstrated last night, one of the great artists in the world. That's one reason we chose him. But the other reason is he understood the platform he was on, and that this platform is to use to unite people and to be able to bring people together with their creativity, with their talents, and to be able to use this moment to do that. I think artists in the past have done that. I think Bad Bunny understands that, and I think he'll have a great performance." Finally, Goodell believes that the rule changes to kickoffs and punts that the league implemented in 2024 are working as intended.
Fourth, Fox Varian, a 22-year-old woman who identified as a boy in her teenage years, won a $2 million decision in a landmark lawsuit against New York doctors accused of pushing a double mastectomy on her when she was a minor. According to the Epoch Times, a New York State jury found psychologist Dr. Kenneth Einhorn and surgeon Dr. Simon Chin liable for failing to properly evaluate Varian's mental health issues like depression, anorexia, ADHD, and possible body dysmorphia before approving the procedure. Varian's mother had opposed it but relented after warnings of suicide risk. The jury awarded $1.6 million for pain and suffering plus $400,000 for medical costs. This marks the first known victory for a detransitioner in such a legal case, with at least 28 similar lawsuits pending nationwide as discussions grow regarding the suitability of gender reassignment treatments for minors. And finally, according to the Wall Street Journal, a U.S. intelligence official has alleged wrongdoing by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard in a whistleblower complaint that is so highly classified it has sparked months of wrangling over how to share it with Congress. The filing of the complaint has prompted a continuing behind-the-scenes struggle about how to assess it and handle it, with the whistleblower's lawyer accusing Gabbard of stonewalling the complaint. A cloak and dagger mystery reminiscent of a Jean Le Carré novel is swirling around the complaint, which is said to be locked in a safe. Disclosure of its contents could cause grave damage to national security, one official said. It also implicates another federal agency beyond Gabbard's and raises potential claims of executive privilege that may involve the White House. The complaint was filed last May with the Intelligence Community's Inspector General, according to a November letter that the whistleblower's lawyer addressed to Gabbard. The letter accused Gabbard's office of hindering the dissemination of the complaint to lawmakers by failing to provide necessary security guidance on how to do so. In a statement, a spokeswoman for Gabbard's office confirmed that the complaint concerned Gabbard, but dismissed it as baseless and politically motivated. Months later, lawmakers still haven't received a complaint itself. Some Democratic staffers on the intelligence committees have tried to warn more about the complaint in recent weeks, with little success, congressional aides said. The lengthy delay on sending the complaint to Congress is without known precedent, according to watchdog experts and former intelligence officials.
Other stories we're tracking this morning. A Fairfax County jury on Monday found Virginia man Brendan Banfield guilty of aggravated murder in the killings of his wife and another man in the family's Herndon, Virginia home in February 2023. The panel of 12 jurors began deliberating midday Friday on whether Banfield, a former IRS law enforcement officer, conspired with his family's au pair, with whom he was having an affair, to kill his wife and pin a non-stranger. Banfield now faces life in prison without parole after his conviction on both counts of aggravated murder. He was also found guilty of using a firearm in the commission of a felony in child endangerment, as his 4-year-old child was home during the killings. He'll be sentenced on May 8th in the Virginia State Courtroom. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called on former Minister Lord Peter Mandelson to resign from his seat in the House of Lords following revelations he provided classified government information to billionaire and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security will equip all police officers on the ground in Minneapolis with body cameras, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced. The program is planned to be gradually expanded to the entire U.S. And the 7th season of the syndicated talk show The Kelly Clarkson Show will be its last, hosted Seeger Kelly Clarkson announced. Now, for some celebrity birthdays. Happy birthday to actress Isla Fisher, who turns 50 years old, actor Warwick Davis, who turns 56 years old, and singer Daddy Yankee, who turns 49 years old.
History. On this day in 1863, Samuel Clemens began publishing news stories in the Virginia City Territorial Enterprise under the pseudonym Mark Twain. On this day in 1889, outlaw Belle Starr was killed when an unknown assailant fatally wounded the famous Bandit Queen with 2 shotgun blasts from behind. On this day in 1913, the 16th Amendment was ratified, which authorized the federal income tax in the United States. On this day in 1924, Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States, died in Washington, D.C. at the age of 67. On this day in 1944, U.S. Armed Forces captured the Marshall Islands. On this day in 1959, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson died in a plane crash near Clear Lake, Iowa, a day dubbed the day the music died. On this day in 1966, the Luna 9 probe of the Soviet Union achieved the first soft landing on the moon and transmitted the first photos of the lunar surface back to Earth. On this day in 1994, President Bill Clinton lifted a 19-year-old trade embargo of the Republic of Vietnam. On this day in 2002, the New England Patriots defeated the heavily favored St. Louis Rams 20-17 in Super Bowl 36. And on this day in 2005, Alberto Gonzalez became the first Hispanic United States Attorney General. And finally, the legendary Punxsutawney Phil announced his forecasts from the town of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. This year, he saw a shadow predicting 6 more weeks of winter. Phil emerged from a tree stump at approximately 7:25 a.m. Eastern Time. An estimated 30,000 people braved the sub-zero temperatures to witness the event. The weather was extremely cold with a recorded temperature of -1 degree Fahrenheit under a crisp and clear sky. This is the second straight year Phil has predicted more winter, having also seen a shadow in 2025.
Later today on Essential Network. On Essential Network Movie Club, host Peter Matthews takes you behind the scenes of the classic 1993 movie The Right Stuff, the 1983 historical drama movie chronicling the first 15 years of America's space program, starring Ed Harris, Sam Shepard, Scott Glenn, and Dennis Quaid. Join me as I host a new episode at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And on Essential Network's Guide to the Interesting, I'll explain the story of one of the most famous plays in NFL history, The Miracle at the Meadowlands. A new episode drops at about 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And a brand new study shows that Apple News, Google News, MSN, and Yahoo News flooded the platforms with a staggering 86% of negative headlines about ICE operations in Minneapolis, Minnesota, following a failed shooting of a naked by a federal agent. Plus, a clandestine biolab operating out of a Chinese national's home in Las Vegas was ignored by legacy media. David Thompson provides the latest in media bias on a new episode of How to Lie to Us at about 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Just a heads up, we do everything we can to meet these schedules, however, unforeseen circumstances may result in delays. We hope you appreciated today's episode of Starting Point. Our content is totally free, but if you really appreciate our work, you can support us by becoming a paid subscriber on Substack, monthly or annually. Please like, restack, subscribe to enjoy Starting Point, along with episodes of select podcasts with as many people as you know. I'm Peter Matthews. For all of us at Essential Network, have a great Tuesday.